In the grand tapestry of the Book of Esther, a single powerful moment of defiance reverberates through time. Queen Vashti, adorned in the splendor of royalty, dared to wield a word seldom spoken to kings. No. Her story begins not with triumph, but with refusal, a bold act that shattered the silence of subservience. Vashti's courage to stand against the demand of King Xerxes challenges the norms of her era, planting seeds of change in a world ruled by patriarchal might. Her decision was more than defiance. It was a declaration of self-respect, a lesson in the cost and strength of maintaining one's dignity. As we delve into her tale, the lessons at the end promise to ignite reflection and courage in your own journey, reminding us that even the smallest acts of resistance can shift the course of history. Queen Vashti reigned alongside King Xerxes, her beauty and poise celebrated in the Persian court. She hosted grand feasts, embodying the dignity and influence of her station. Amidst the opulence of a royal banquet, Xerxes summoned Vashti to display her before his guests, a command cloaked in ambiguity, yet laden with indignity. Vashti's refusal to comply was not mere disobedience, but a resolute stand for her worth. In her silent defiance, she broke an unspoken rule of submission, rejecting the objectification imposed by even the highest authority. Though her decision led to her dethronement, it illuminated a path of autonomy and reverberated as a quiet call for justice. The fateful moment when Vashti refused King Xerxes' command marks a pivotal turning point in her story and in the annals of courage. At the height of the royal celebration, Xerxes, intoxicated by both wine and power, sought to parade Vashti's beauty before a gathering of nobles and officials. His request, though presented as a kingly command, carried the weight of humiliation, a public display reducing her worth to mere aesthetics. Vashti's no was not just a denial of her husband's order, but a declaration of her inherent dignity. The grandeur of the royal court that night, with its opulent feasting and extravagant revelry, served as the backdrop for an act that would defy the very foundation of the Persian Empire's social order. The air was thick with the expectation of compliance, for in the world of Xerxes, the king's word was final, unchallengeable, and absolute. Yet Vashti, a queen of beauty and wisdom, discerned the deeper implications of the command. In that moment, her decision was not impulsive nor rooted in rebellion. It was a deliberate choice to shield her dignity and preserve the sanctity of her being. When the king's messengers approached, delivering his decree with the weight of imperial authority, Vashti's heart must have been heavy with the knowledge of the repercussions. To refuse Xerxes in the presence of his nobles was no small matter. It was to oppose not only her husband, but also the traditions that had long defined her role and her identity. The silence that followed her refusal was deafening, reverberating through the halls like the first tremor of an earthquake, shaking the very foundation of unquestioned obedience. Her defiance was met with immediate outrage. The court, steeped in the traditions of male dominance, recoiled at the audacity of a woman who would dare to place her honor above a king's desire. Xerxes, wounded in pride and swayed by the insecurities of his advisors, issued an edict to strip Vashti of her title. They spoke of preserving order, yet their actions revealed a fear of the transformative power that her refusal might inspire among the women of the empire. Though banished from the throne, Vashti's legacy began to bloom in the hearts of those who witnessed her bravery. Among the women of Persia, her act was a quiet anthem of resistance, a reminder that submission to injustice is not a requisite of loyalty. Vashti's choice became a seed of courage, taking root in the hearts of many, whispering that the cost of integrity, though great, is never wasted. Her story is not one of loss, but of profound transformation, for her refusal to bend under the weight of oppression illuminated a path for others to follow. It is a story that transcends its era, echoing through the ages as a testament to the quiet power of standing firm. Vashti's strength lay in her ability to see beyond the immediate and trust that her act of courage would inspire a change far greater than herself. To fully grasp the weight of Vashti's decision, one must journey into the historical and cultural milieu of the Persian Empire under Xerxes' reign. Spanning vast territories, the empire was a marvel of wealth and power, a gilded beacon of prosperity for the ancient world. Yet, beneath its golden veneer lay a rigid hierarchy that placed kings as divine sovereigns and women, even queens, as little more than extensions of their husband's will. The societal script was unyielding, dictating silence and obedience as the virtues of womanhood. Vashti's decision to defy Xerxes did not merely challenge her husband, but confronted this deeply ingrained order. Her role as queen had been to embody grace, beauty, and compliance, qualities that adorn the empire like jewels in its crown. But when Xerxes commanded her presence at the height of his feast, seeking to parade her beauty as though she were a possession, Vashti perceived the deeper humiliation inherent in his decree. To appear would have been to forfeit her humanity, to allow herself to be diminished to a symbol of aesthetic value alone. In refusing, Vashti claimed something revolutionary: the right to her own personhood. The act was neither reckless nor impulsive, but born of an unshakable resolve that her dignity was worth more than the throne she graced. The scene unfolds as a moment of divine gravity, where the unseen heavens seem to whisper approval over her act of defiance. For in the refusal, Vashti aligns herself not with the transient glory of an earthly empire, but with the eternal principles of integrity and justice. The echoes of her defiance reached far beyond the palace walls, stirring whispers among the women of Persia and beyond. Her courage became a mirror, reflecting the injustices they too endured, and igniting sparks of silent rebellion in hearts long subdued. Though Xerxes' advisors sought to contain her influence by removing her from the court, their very fear revealed her power. In their haste to erase her, they immortalized her, for acts of moral clarity resonate far longer than crowns or decrees. The story of Vashti's refusal shines as a celestial thread in the tapestry of history, reminding us that the courage to stand firm, even in isolation, can uproot mountains of injustice. It foreshadows the greater redemption narrative that would unfold through Esther, whose rise to queenship built upon the foundation of Vashti's act of resistance. Vashti's courage calls us to consider our own lives and the moments where we too are called to choose dignity over comfort, justice over complacency. Through her, we see that true power is not in dominion, but in the steadfast refusal to surrender one's soul to the dictates of tyranny. Vashti's removal from the throne was not merely an isolated act of royal dismissal. It was a divine orchestration of events that would set the stage for redemption and salvation. Her refusal, bold and unwavering, opened a door for Esther's emergence, a young Jewish woman whose faith and bravery would change the destiny of an entire nation. In the silence that followed Vashti's defiance, God was preparing a new chapter, one that would reveal His providence and unwavering commitment to His people. Esther's rise to queenship was not happenstance, but a deliberate move within God's grand design. Where Vashti's courage blazed a trail of resistance, Esther's story added layers of divine strategy and intervention. Vashti's stand for dignity echoed as a precursor to the courage Esther would later embody, showing that every act of integrity, no matter how costly, plays a role in the unfolding of a greater narrative. The hand of God moved through the seeming chaos of the Persian court, positioning Esther as a beacon of hope, just as Vashti's defiance had been a spark of resistance. The transition from Vashti to Esther reveals the profound interconnectedness of human actions within God's plans. Vashti's dismissal, though wrought with personal loss, was a vital shift in the tapestry of redemption. Her act of defiance was not in vain, but rather a foundational step that allowed Esther to step into her role as a deliverer. Without Vashti's refusal, the path for Esther's influence might never have been cleared. Vashti's courage laid the groundwork, making way for Esther to save her people with wisdom and faith. In the corridors of the palace, Vashti's absence was a reminder of the power of resistance. Her legacy lingered as a quiet testament to the cost of standing firm, while Esther's presence became a testament to the rewards of walking in faith. Together, their stories illustrate that the sacrifices of one often pave the way for the victories of another. Vashti's bold no to oppression rippled forward, becoming the foundation for Esther's triumphant yes to God's purpose. The interplay between these two queens highlights the divine truth that God can use both loss and triumph to accomplish His will. Vashti's story, though brief, was the necessary spark that ignited a sequence of events leading to deliverance. Esther's courage to act, built upon Vashti's defiance, became the culmination of a divine plan, woven with precision and grace. Through Vashti's refusal and Esther's obedience, we see a God who orchestrates history with meticulous care, using even moments of resistance to bring about His greater purposes. Vashti's story imparts timeless lessons, each a beacon of wisdom for those navigating the challenges of self-respect and autonomy. At its core, her refusal echoes the divine truth that personal dignity is a sacred gift, not a privilege bestowed by others. In a culture where compromise often masquerades as virtue, Vashti's stand remains a clarion call to honor the sanctity of one's inner worth. Her defiance was not rooted in pride or rebellion, but in the recognition of her inherent value as a creation of God. She teaches us that to guard one's dignity is to uphold the divine image within. Her bravery unveils the transformative power of courage in the face of fear and consequence. Vashti's act was not without trembling. The weight of her decision bore the risk of not only losing her crown, but her safety, her standing, and the future she had known. Yet, her no was born not of recklessness, but of a profound clarity, a choice to trust in principles greater than herself. In her silence, she proclaimed a truth that transcends words. The strength to defy injustice is not derived from defiance itself, but from an unshakable trust in the righteousness of the stand. Her resistance highlights the spiritual potency of quiet, yet profound action. In refusing Xerxes' command, Vashti didn't deliver a public address or summon armies. She simply withheld her presence, a choice as radiant and unyielding as a mountain against the wind. Her protest reminds us of the power of subtlety, how even the smallest acts of resistance can ripple through the fabric of time, whispering courage into the hearts of generations. Vashti's legacy is a testament to the idea that the most transformative battles are often fought in stillness and simplicity. The costs of her resistance, though steep, are a vital reminder of the worth of integrity. Stripped of her title and removed from the seat of power, Vashti became a quiet martyr for the cause of self-respect. Yet her story demonstrates that the rewards of resistance are not measured in worldly gain, but in the eternal impact of one's actions. Her sacrifice, though immense, became the foundation for a legacy that has inspired countless individuals to prioritize dignity over convenience, justice over submission. In Vashti's story, we find an invitation to re-evaluate the principles that anchor our lives. She calls us to consider where we may have traded authenticity for approval or compromised our values to maintain peace. Her courage compels us to seek the strength to reclaim what has been lost and to stand resolute in the face of opposition. Through Vashti's life, we are reminded that even in loss, there is profound gain when we choose to honor the divine image within ourselves, leaving behind a legacy of unwavering courage and unshakable dignity. Vashti's story beckons us to pause and reflect on the sanctity of self-worth, urging us to assess where we have allowed our integrity to falter under the weight of expectation or fear. Her defiance whispers across the ages, asking us to reclaim the divine image within ourselves and the courage to stand as vessels of dignity. This chapter serves as a clarion call to examine the boundaries we have set or failed to set in the pursuit of approval, comfort, or peace. In a world clamoring for compromise, Vashti's quiet refusal becomes a profound example of unwavering faith in what is right. Her act was not grandiose. It was deliberate, measured, and infused with the wisdom of knowing that her value was not subject to the whims of others. When she refused Xerxes, she didn't just say no to a man, but to an entire structure of domination that sought to define her worth. This is a call to action for each of us to recognize the moments when society, relationships, or even our own fears demand that we trade authenticity for acceptance. Vashti's legacy is not merely about defiance, but about transformation. Her choice teaches us that boundaries are sacred, not selfish, and that the willingness to defend them is an act of divine obedience. Like a watchman guarding the gates of a city, we are entrusted with the stewardship of our souls. The call to embody her courage begins by discerning where we have allowed others to trespass, diminishing our God-given worth. It is in these moments that we must rise, anchored in the assurance that honoring our boundaries is a form of worship, a testament to the Creator who fashioned us in His image. Her story challenges us to take deliberate steps to fortify our hearts against the pressures of a world that too often seeks to diminish us. Whether through quiet resolve or bold declarations, the act of standing firm is a reflection of faith in a higher purpose. Let Vashti's courage inspire you to say no when necessary, knowing that each refusal is a step toward reclaiming the fullness of your identity. When we align our choices with the principles of dignity and integrity, we are not merely resisting injustice, we are participating in a sacred act that echoes through eternity. The power of Vashti's legacy lies in her ability to elevate resistance into a form of grace, a reminder that the smallest acts of courage can alter the trajectory of our lives and the lives of those who witness them. In this journey, Vashti's story becomes our guide, her strength a beacon for our path. May her example embolden you to stand firm in the face of opposition, trusting that God's hand works through every act of integrity, weaving them into the greater tapestry of His divine will. As Vashti's refusal paved the way for Esther's rise, so too will your courage lay the groundwork for transformation and redemption. As we draw to a close, Queen Vashti's story stands as a testament to the enduring power of quiet resistance and unwavering dignity. Her defiance echoes through the ages, challenging us to reflect on the nature of true strength and the courage it takes to say no when the world demands compliance. In the face of a monarch whose words shaped laws and lives, Vashti's refusal was more than an act of personal conviction. It was a ripple in the fabric of history, a divine pause that reoriented the narrative toward justice and redemption. Her courage reminds us that the most profound battles are often waged in silence, without fanfare or immediate recognition. Vashti's stand cost her a throne, yet it granted her something far greater: the legacy of one who chose integrity over convenience. Her refusal shines as a beacon for anyone who has ever been asked to betray their own values, urging us to see dignity not as a privilege to be earned, but as a birthright bestowed by God. Her story compels us to ask ourselves whether we too would have the fortitude to stand firm when the cost feels unbearable. Vashti's actions challenge the very core of power dynamics, revealing the vulnerability of systems built on fear and domination. Her defiance was not a loud rebellion, but a quiet and resolute act that dismantled the illusion of invincibility surrounding Xerxes' authority. By standing against injustice, she illuminated a path for others to follow, her legacy whispering strength into hearts that long for freedom and equality. In her silence, we hear the voice of countless others who have chosen courage over compromise, their actions woven into the larger tapestry of God's redemptive plan. Her removal from the throne was not the end, but the beginning of a greater work. Vashti's decision cleared the way for Esther to rise, her refusal serving as the first note in a symphony of divine intervention. The interplay between these two queens underscores a powerful truth: that God often works through both loss and triumph, weaving every act of courage into His greater purpose. Vashti's sacrifice reminds us that the seeds of transformation often take root in the soil of resistance. Today, Vashti's story calls us to embrace our God-given worth, and stand firm in the face of injustice, no matter the cost. Her example is a powerful reminder that even the smallest acts of defiance can inspire monumental change, resonating across generations. Let her courage inspire you to examine your own life and the moments when you are called to choose between the comfort of compliance and the cost of integrity. For more stories of courage, dignity, and divine intervention, subscribe to our channel, Remarkable Bible Stories. Together, let us draw strength from the heroes of faith as we strive to walk in their footsteps, building a future rooted in justice, dignity, and the transformative power of God's purpose. The figures woven into Vashti's story illuminate the profound intricacies of power, courage, and divine orchestration, each playing a pivotal role in the narrative's depth and purpose. Vashti, at the heart of this tapestry, embodies a quiet yet unyielding defiance. Her decision to refuse King Xerxes' command resonates with dignity, a reflection of her deep-rooted understanding of self-worth bestowed by the Creator. Her silence carries a weight that echoes beyond words, a steadfast declaration that her value is not contingent on the whims of earthly authority. Through her, we see a portrait of a woman who, though stripped of her throne, preserved something far greater, her soul unmarred by submission to injustice. In contrast, King Xerxes stands as a symbol of unchecked power and the fragility of human pride. His actions, impulsive and influenced by his advisors, reveal the dangers of authority wielded without accountability. Xerxes' pride, coupled with his susceptibility to flattery and fear, drives decisions that ripple through the empire, reshaping lives in their wake. Yet even in his flaws, he serves as an unwitting vessel within God's divine plan, his decree paving the way for a greater purpose to unfold. The king's role reminds us of the transient nature of earthly power, which pales in comparison to the enduring sovereignty of God. Esther, who rises to prominence in the wake of Vashti's removal, adds a contrasting layer of wisdom and faith. Her journey to queenship is marked by humility and strategic courage, a path illuminated by divine providence. While Vashti's defiance was immediate and direct, Esther's strength lies in her quiet, calculated steps toward deliverance. Her story complements Vashti's, showing the multifaceted ways God equips his servants to fulfill his plans. Esther's eventual triumph underscores a truth woven throughout Scripture. God's purposes prevail through both bold defiance and subtle obedience, each act of courage contributing to the grand narrative of redemption. Together, these figures form a divine symphony, their lives intertwined in ways that reveal the meticulous care of God's hand. Vashti's refusal, though costly, sets the stage for Esther's ascent. Xerxes' decree, born of pride, becomes a key turning point in a redemptive plan that would save an entire people. The interplay between these characters teaches us that every action, whether born of defiance or obedience, holds significance in God's eternal design. Vashti's story, when viewed alongside those of Xerxes and Esther, becomes a testament to the profound interconnectedness of human choices and divine will. Her courage, Xerxes' vulnerability, and Esther's faith create a narrative that calls us to trust in God's ability to use every moment, whether painful or triumphant, to fulfill His purpose. Through these lives, we see that resistance to oppression and submission to divine guidance are not mutually exclusive, but threads in the same tapestry, each reflecting the glory of the Creator's plan.